You're watching ABC 7 News at 4, starting with First Alert Weather.
Good afternoon. I'm Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan with your First Alert Weather update on Michael. It is now in the history books as far as the intensity of this storm. It is the strongest storm ever to hit the Florida Panhandle with winds at 155 miles an hour, making landfall right around 2 o'clock this afternoon, right on into Mexico Beach, which is just to the east of Panama City. This is the satellite imagery showing you that a landfall is, again, right around 2 o'clock is the official time of the center passing over that location and then pushing off toward the east northeast, and it's still a very powerful storm. You can see those purples on the southern edge of that. That's going to clip and get close to Tallahassee, and it's still a Category 4 hurricane. Although it's lost some of its speed, it still looks very healthy on the satellite imagery and still causing considerable damage throughout that area. Here are the latest advisories on Michael. Now, the top winds down to 140 when it made landfall. The winds were at 155 miles an hour. The pressure at the time was 919 millibars. It's now up to 927, and it's moving faster now, north-northeast at 15 miles an hour. As far as where it's going, well, Albany is going to see a Category 2 hurricane, it looks like. Macon, Georgia, right near the center of there, and then eventually off through the Carolinas. You'll notice the gap in between those two symbols there, the 1-2 and the tropical storm. That's because it's going to be racing off to the northeast. That's good for the Carolinas. They're going to get some strong winds, power outages, but it doesn't appear they're going to see an excessive amount of rainfall. They are now in the Panhandle of Florida. They could see anywhere from 10 to 12 inches of rain in some isolated areas there, causing significant flooding. Here's the visible imagery from our GOES-16 satellite, and you can just see the ferocity of that storm and how well that eye was located and actually developed. Now that it's over land, it is losing some of that. Obviously, it's lost the fuel of the warm Gulf of Mexico, and that's going to be the story as to why this thing intensified down to 919 in terms of its pressure. The good news is the watches have been lifted for our coast. The warnings are still up there. Hurricane force warnings continue now from Alabama, Florida line all the way down to the Swanee River. And for us, no more watches, no more warnings. However, I still expect to see a few cells possibly produce tornadoes like we saw earlier this afternoon, right around 3 o'clock from the airport northeastward through Lakewood Ranch. No damage associated with that particular tornado. It was a Doppler indicated tornado. A lot of times that rotation's in the cell itself and not touching ground, but we have to issue those warnings nonetheless, and with the possibility of those touching ground. Winds will stay pretty brisk out of the west, but they'll subside by midday tomorrow. They're still strong. You can see 20 to 25 miles an hour out of the southwest. I mentioned those winds will be abating somewhat. We still have a high surf advisory, a rip current advisory, and coastal erosion taking place as a result of those strong south to southwesterly winds. A lot of times when these things make landfall, the feeder bands start to pick up in intensity, and that's what we're seeing this afternoon. You can see scattered showers out there in the Gulf of Mexico working to the northeast at around 30 to 40 miles an hour, and they are fast. So when these warnings come, you don't get much chance to seek shelter, so keep that in mind as well. As the skies start to darken and the winds start to pick up, that's a good time to seek shelter and not wait for the warning. Well, much more on the tropics. There's another system we're watching in the southwest Caribbean. Besides, we have Nadine out there in the Atlantic as well as Leslie. More on those coming up in a few minutes. Jacqueline, Scott?
All right, Bob, thank you. Hurricane Michael is the strongest storm to make landfall in the continental United States since Hurricane Andrew back in 1992.
That's right. As Bob mentioned, the eye wall of that storm made landfall near Mexico Beach with sustained winds at 155 miles per hour. Natasha Chen has the latest on that monster storm.
Hurricane Michael is slamming into the Florida Panhandle as a monster storm gaining intensity with the potential to cause catastrophic damage.
Right now, the winds is extremely high. It's probably as bad as I've ever seen it.
Florida's governor issued a stark warning to any residents who did not evacuate.
Now the storm is here. The time to evacuate in coastal areas has come and gone.
Some residents who decided to stay are sharing photos of where they are riding out the storm. Many bridges connecting islands to the mainland are now closed.
What's the most surprising and the most astounding, to be quite honest, is how quickly the storm surge has taken over this town.
Officials warn of a storm surge that could reach 14 feet in some areas.
Storm surge is going to be the worst where the eye makes landfall. So not only is it going to bring 14 feet of ocean water and coastal flood inundation, there'll be wave action on top of that.
Tens of thousands of customers are already without power. Officials say it may not be restored for days, possibly weeks. President Trump received a briefing on the storm by FEMA.
I had a long talk with Rick Scott, Governor Scott of Florida. Very well coordinated with all of the states.
Millions of people across 6 states are under hurricane warnings and watches as the storm is expected to blow over Georgia and the Carolinas in the next few days. In Panama City, Florida, I'm Natasha Chen.
Closer to home, the city of Sarasota officials say Michael bringing the biggest waves in more than 6 years to Lido Beach.
That's where we find ABC 7's Erica Jackson. Now, Erica, did Michael leave behind his mark on Lido Beach?
Jacqueline Scott, unfortunately he did. We lost about 10 inches of beach here on Lido overnight, which isn't good news since Lido's shoreline is already shrinking. But the city of Sarasota is getting ready to start an emergency beach renourishment project by getting sand from New Pass. But until then, the city is at least trying to protect Lido Beach with 300 feet of massive sandbags. Sarasota spent $30,000 on this short-term solution, but some of the trap bags got washed out overnight by the waves, and then unfortunately, additional trap bags got washed out this afternoon with some of those waves reaching the dunes. Still, Sarasota city manager said they did their job with one row of bags protecting the dunes overnight and another further back protecting the pavilion and the pool.
We've got a double line of protection, so we've trucked in 500 tons for the front line of sandbags, and we've got another 500 tons behind it. So that's 1,000 tons of sand. Nothing compared to what we're going to do when we renourish it and restore, you know, the beach as it should be in the shoreline.
Now, this emergency renourishment project is scheduled to start last month, and city leaders say Hurricane Michael intensifies the need to get this project started as soon as possible. We'll have more coming up tonight at 5. Reporting live on Lido Beach, Erica Jackson, ABC 7, your Suncoast News.
All right, Erica, thank you. On Anna Maria Island, they're still seeing some effects of the storm. Storm surge flooding caused classes to be canceled today at Anna Maria Elementary School. ABC 7's Jackie Kelly joins us live from the island now with the current conditions there. Jackie?
Scott, as you can see behind me, the waves are very big here, and the water is actually making its way all the way up the sand to where I'm standing. Now, we've gotten word that there is some flooding on 63rd Street on Holmes Beach. And earlier I did talk with the emergency management chief, who says that there hasn't been any significant damage here from the storm, and they don't think there's been any erosion caused by it. Now, there are some people surfing these waves, and he wants to remind them to be careful if they're doing that. And at 6, you'll hear from the emergency management chief, and he'll talk about more on what they're doing to help out people during this hurricane. Back to you.
All right, Jackie, thank you. Florida Power and Light is sending help to residents and businesses that have lost electricity in Hurricane Michael. 1,300 FPL workers and contractors staged at the Sarasota County Fairgrounds on Fruitville Road. They're heading north to the areas impacted by the storm. FPL helping other power companies in the state with that restoration effort. You may remember crews from other states came here last year for us after Hurricane Irma.
Our responsibility is to provide safe and reliable service to our customers. Once we have restored the power to all of the customers that Florida Power Light supports, we offer and lend assistance to our neighboring utilities as they have done so for us in the past, such as Hurricane Irma, and just recently where we went up part of a mutual assistance program to help our neighbors to the north in the Carolinas.
Some crews are here from as far away as Mississippi. They drove south to Sarasota to wait and are now heading up to the Panhandle. We will continue to give you live updates on our Facebook page and website, mysuncoast.com, on Hurricane Michael. We'll keep you up to date on any road closures or any other issues that occur here on the Suncoast and across the state. Jacqueline joins us now with the latest on a deadly shooting in Fort Myers.
Scott, 2 people are dead, 2 more are injured after a shooting at a shopping center in Fort Myers. Lee County Sheriff's deputies say last night's shooting at the Bell Tower shops does not appear to be random. A woman at the scene says she was celebrating her birthday around 10 o'clock last night when someone approached her family, then shot and killed her husband. The woman's son then tried to run before the gunman shot and injured him as well. No arrests have been made. Back home on the Suncoast, there's an urgent need for both blood and platelet donations. Blood banks in the path of Hurricane Michael are not able to accept donations right now, and it could be days before they're able to reopen. blood banks in the affected areas are now relying on donors from other areas. The Suncoast Blood Bank asking people to donate now to help Hurricane Michael victims, especially those with O negative and O positive blood types, which will be in high demand. And due to Hurricane Michael, Sarasota County is canceling all after-school events, activities, competitions, and practices except for elementary aftercare, which will continue as usual. Sarasota County Schools' digital town hall is also canceled due to possible inclement weather from the hurricane. We will keep you updated on when that digital town hall is rescheduled. Still to come, we're live on Venice Beach to check out the current beach conditions there. Plus, crews from the Humane Society in Alabama are bracing for the storm and heading to the Panhandle to help shelters move their animals to safer locations. And a couple set to marry in the path of Hurricane Michael didn't let the big storm ruin their big day. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Investigate TV tackles the tough topics.
What happened to my life was awful.
When your health is compromised, we investigate.
They are really drug dealers in white coats.
Corporate greed exposed.
How do you trust them to run this program?
The powerful held accountable with in-depth journalism led by award-winning journalist Lee Zurich. We're your watchdog. Search Investigate TV on your Roku device. Download it now.
Sarasota Oxygen and CPAP is the largest locally owned CPAP supply company in the area. Is it time to replace your old equipment? The staff at Sarasota Oxygen and CPAP can show you the most up-to-date CPAP equipment and supplies to meet your sleep apnea needs, including portable travel devices and the SoClean automatic CPAP sanitizer. We serve all of Southwest Florida, giving the highest quality of care with the finest CPAP equipment. Please visit our website, sarasotacpap.com.
Rugs as Art. You know the name, you know the building, but do you know what's inside? Yes, Rugs as Art is Florida's #1 area rug superstore, but there is so much more. Amazing furniture, accessories, and art. All this and more. Come see for yourself. You'll love our personal touch and be pleasantly surprised by our affordable prices. Rugs as Art and more. There is so much more to explore.
I heard about the Dotole Cancer Center through friends of mine who had been treated here and were very pleased with the treatment.
If there is prostate cancer, we at the Dotole Cancer Center will find it using 3D color flow Doppler ultrasound.
And that helped precisely identify where my cancer was. I can tell you that you will not find a finer, more professional team of clinicians anywhere in the world.
Helping families with mesothelioma is all we do. My firm has been offering a free book on mesothelioma for over 10 years. Since that time, hundreds of people with mesothelioma have trusted us to represent them. We have local offices throughout the U.S. and there is no risk to you. Mesothelioma really is all we do.
Call us at 1-800-485-6000. That's 1-800-485-6000.
Or go to mesoonlylaw.com.
Recovery from mental and substance use disorders is real.
You can recover.
It's possible. It happens every day.
Never give up on yourself.
Discover hope and help.
The world is a beautiful place again.
Join the Voices for Recovery. For confidential information for mental and substance use disorders, call 1-800-662-HELP.
Welcome back. Continuing our team coverage now to show you Hurricane Michael's impact to our area. ABC 7's Rebecca Fernandez joins us live now from Englewood. Rebecca, how are things looking in South County?
Scott, well, even though we're several hundred miles away from Hurricane Michael, we're feeling the effects here on the Sun Coast. Right now in Manasota Key, the beach is almost gone. I'm going to step out of the frame to show you a better. You can see that the waves have basically eroded the shoreline. And this morning I saw similar conditions on Venice Beach. We also saw these 2 red flags. They are a warning against swimming in the surf. I spoke with lifeguards that say the water has unsafe amount of human or animal fecal bacteria.
All of our beaches today are flying double red flags, letting people know that there's high bacteria counts along with the red tide in the water, and with the currents and the waves, it's just not a swimming day at all for anybody.
And of course, another big concern on the Suncoast is the storm surge. Tonight at 5:30, I'll show you the areas in South County that are being affected the most. For now, live in Manasota Key, Rebecca Fernandez, ABC7, your Suncoast News. Back to you guys.
Rebecca, thank you. Volunteers from Birmingham headed to the Panhandle this week to help get pets out of harm's way. You can see them cleaning out kennels and loading up trucks to move several dogs to inland shelters. They're not bringing those animals back to Birmingham as they did after flooding from Florence hit the Carolinas.
This is a pretty bad situation because most of the shelters are still full from disaster relief from Florence. So now this puts Florida and the Gulf Coast of Alabama at a disadvantage because the places they would normally be able to move their animals to are probably full of Florence animals. So it is pretty dire.
Always remember, if it's not safe for you to stay in your home, it's not safe for your pets either. Never leave them behind. Let's get back to Jacqueline now in her newsroom with what's trending today.
Scott, while most people were seeking shelter, one couple was tying the knot on the beach on Panama City. The couple moved up their wedding by a day so that they could get their vows in before Michael could ruin their moment. They said, quote, "We bumped it up to Tuesday night at sunset, and then we bumped it up to this morning," said the bride. Michael made landfall, of course, on Panama City Beach that was targeted earlier this afternoon. Well, one man is dead, another is rescued, clinging to the side of a boat after it capsized in a Central Florida lake on Tuesday. It all happened in Lake Monroe, a large lake popular for boating and fishing near Orlando. Authorities say the man had been hanging onto the boat for an extended amount of time. A second man who was also in that boat was found dead about 2 miles away. The state's Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission is investigating that incident. And take a look at these pictures of the North Jetty in Venice. ABC7 viewer Don Klein took these photos yesterday of a few people and their dogs on the rocks while waves are crashing. Now, no one was injured, but it is not a good idea to stand on the jetty, especially with high surf and unpredictable conditions. However, we would like to see any pictures of the conditions you're seeing here on the Suncoast. You can send them to us at pics@mysuncoast.com. That is PIX@mysuncoast.com. Also, take a look at this video of a water spout in Sarasota Bay. Another one of our viewers, Tanya Keith, says it was taken around 9 o'clock this morning at the Ringling Museum. You can see the water spout there forming over Sarasota Bay. It didn't last long. It quickly formed over the choppy waters and then disappeared. Well, let's check in now with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan for the latest on Hurricane Michael. Bob.
Yeah, it's been a historic storm, and to say the least, this is the strongest storm ever to hit the Panhandle, the third strongest in terms of the pressure drop, 919, lowest pressure, third lowest pressure ever to hit the United States. October, there's all sorts of rankings for that as well. I could go on and on and on with the list of all the records this one's going to set. And as far as the damage goes, now this is a lower pressure than Andrew, but I don't think you're going to see the kind of Andrew damage that we're going to see after the light tomorrow, because they're not going to be able to see all the damage today, obviously, because of the storm's winds are still raging there and not folks out there able to get any kind of damage pictures. But Andrew was a strong storm going into the coast. This pressure was dropping as was making landfall to 919. Had that 919 occurred 3 hours out, it usually takes about 3 hours for the wind speeds to catch up to that pressure drop. Although it was a devastating storm, obviously, and still is over the Panhandle of Florida. You saw those waves out there on the Holmes Beach cam. They continue to thrash ashore here, and they'll continue tonight and overnight. And by midday tomorrow, those winds will abate, but those waves will still be up. This was the most impressive imagery of what I say the hurricane is. Take a look at this. The landfall right on into Mexico Beach, just to the east of Panama City. That eye wall moving right over parts of the Panhandle of Florida, just to the west of Tallahassee. Now, Tallahassee is get ready for this. This is a huge line of heavy thunderstorms heading right into Tallahassee. So they have not felt the full brunt of this storm yet. It's on its way. So you may have been hearing from folks in Tallahassee it's not been that bad. Well, it's going to get worse as that line makes its way and pinwheels right on into the state's capital. Top winds now down to 140, still a Category 4 hurricane, and it's moving faster now, north-northeast at 15 miles an hour. Look at Albany right there, and this storm is going to move right into Albany over the next, looks like 8 hours to 12 hours, and then eventually off to the northeast. This system has a potential for causing power outages all throughout Georgia. It's not just the center we're focused on. To the right of the center is where the damaging winds will be too, outside of that cone of uncertainty. By the time it hits the Carolina border, it should be a tropical storm, still producing some very heavy rainfall for the Carolinas, and it goes out into the Atlantic. The wind forecast, it's been strong out of the south. It'll be southwesterly tonight, and then notice by tomorrow morning, 10 to 15 miles an hour, so that'll be a relief, although the wave action will still be high. We won't see nearly as strong a wind. And then we'll get a little bit of a northwest wind, a little bit of a weak cold front, and we could see 60s in some areas, looks like by Friday morning. We'll talk more about that a little bit later. You can see these showers still popping up. This is what I'm concerned about. These will have the potential to get a little twist in them and produce Doppler indicated tornadoes very quickly and rapidly. So once again, don't wait for the warnings. If things start to get a little hairy around your home, take shelter, seek shelter as quickly as possible because there won't be a lot of warning time with these particular cells. They're moving at 30 to 40 miles an hour. There's a big cell just to the west of Holmes Beach, and there hasn't been a lot of rotation right now with the cells, but we'll keep an eye on it for you as we move through time. Still very heavy rainfall in the Panhandle from the radar. You can see right there, flooding concerns are out there, and tropical concerns are still with us. We still have a month and a couple of weeks before the official end. Obviously, we have Michael, we have Leslie and Nadine out there, and another system trying to develop. Looks like we're not too concerned about Leslie. It's kind of moving around out there. As far as Nadine goes, it's expected to weaken and then push off to the west and eventually dissipate. But that's not always the best news because the tropical wave will continue to move into the Caribbean, and that's where a lot of action usually develops this time of year. So we'll keep an eye on those storms for you. And obviously, we have another system in the southwest Caribbean. We'll talk more about that a little bit later. 94 heat index. The winds are out of the south at 20. And as far as the cooler air goes, it's still to our north. We're going to tap into a little bit, as I said, a little bit later this week. Temperatures in the 50s in places over the central U.S. 70% chance for rain tomorrow, so we'll still see these showers moving onshore. They'll be scattered. And then temperatures very close on Saturday morning, I should say, in the upper 60s in some locations, but we'll still stay pretty warm into the upper 80s right in through the weekend. Scott?
Okay, Bob, thank you. Waffle House, known for staying open during some of the worst natural disasters, but did Hurricane Michael manage to close some? We'll find out, and we'll get back to Bob Harrigan, our latest forecast coming up right after this.
I'm Linda Carson from Suncoast View. Coming up Thursday morning live at 9, giving hunger the blues. See how a day of jazz and blues beside the bay will help drive hunger away. The University of Florida Extension Service rolls out some awesome plants for sale at the annual Master Gardener Plant Sale. And in the kitchen, firefighters get ready to battle in Morton's Firehouse Chili Cook-Off. That's coming up tomorrow morning live at 9.
Blue 32, Blue 32, hut hut. It's the Ghetto Gridiron Challenge. The game's on to sell 2,000 vehicles. 12 teams compete for the #1 spot. Score a great deal at every Gatto dealership. Buy with 0 down. Make no payments for 90 days. Choose from 14 of your favorite brands, all on sale. Who will make it to the end zone? You decide. Rush to a Gatto location near you or visit Gatto.com.
Gattle's got it. Christmas Tradition by Lux Art Silks, where more is merrier. Make your holidays sparkle with style. Browse our amazing showroom, cute collectible cottages, and beautiful Christmas displays. Find the inspiration, selection, and quality you need to deck the halls merry and bright. Christmas Traditions also features the area's largest selection of quality pre-lit Christmas trees, every size, shape, and color, and plenty of decorations to make your home shine for the holidays. Christmas Traditions by Lux Art Silks, where more is merrier. Visit us on New 301, just a quarter-mile north of University Parkway.
Did you know you could get life insurance for less than 32 cents a day? With guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance through TruStage, you can get up to $25,000 in protection with a single phone call, and you cannot be turned down for any reason. Even if you have health problems or are living on a fixed income, guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance policies could work for you with prices starting at less than 32 cents a day. That's as low as $9.40 a month. TruStage can help free your family from immediate financial stress when you're gone.
Utility bills, mortgages, car payments, those are a lot of things that can add up pretty fast.
My mom didn't have life insurance and the cost all fell on me. And that's expensive. We're still paying for that.
Yeah, we're still paying for that.
Call 1-800-218-4991 now. In one phone call, you can help prepare your family with protection amounts up to $25,000. There are no medical tests or health questions. And remember, you cannot be turned down for any reason. In fact, TruStage policies are already protecting over 18 million Americans. And rates are designed to be affordable, starting at less than 32 cents a day. That's as low as $9.40 a month. Plus, your price will never increase and your benefit will never decrease.
When I leave, everything will be taken care of for them.
Call 1-800-218-4991 now for a free, no-obligation quote. TruStage offers plans to fit your budget with prices starting at less than 32 cents a day. Help protect your family from immediate financial burdens after you're gone with guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance through TruStage. Call 1-800-218-4991 now.
Like ABC7 on Facebook to stay connected to the team you trust.
Hurricane Michael officially making landfall along the Florida Panhandle. So how bad is it? Well, a Waffle House in Panama City area is actually closed, which is a rare sight. If you're familiar with Waffle House Index, you know it means that the storm needs to be taken seriously. Waffle House restaurants keep their doors open 24/7 and are known to stay open even through natural disasters. Pat Warner with Waffle House says 18 locations are closed along the Panhandle from Panama City to Destin, but they plan to reopen as soon as the storm passes. Let's get back to Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan now with what else we're watching in the Caribbean.
That's right. We can't let our guard down, Scott. This is a favorite area for development. We saw that with Michael, and there's another area the Hurricane Center is watching. The good news is there's no chance of it developing over the next 2 days. That was similar to Michael, but in the next 5 days, it's a 50% chance of a formation. Typically, storms that develop in the Western Caribbean have a tendency to get in the Gulf. There aren't any indications of that right now, but we'll have to watch it very closely. Right now, there's nothing really there, but this area right there will move into it, and there's a chance in this particular region we may see something popping up over the next 5 days. But for us, we're still dealing with the effects of Michael. They're still having a significant impact on our coastal communities for the most part. Get a look at the Casey Key webcam, what's been going on today. That surf continues to pound the coastline. There's some coastal erosion going on, believe me. And although it's not assessed at this time, you'll see it in the next few days. Those waves heights are still very high. The storm surge, the highest I saw last night was about 2.14 feet. This afternoon wasn't quite as high, and that's a good sign. Scott, back to you.
All right, Bob, thank you. Thank you for joining us for ABC 7 News at 4. We'll see you again at 5.